Hello everyone. I Pooja Shekhawat once again in front of you with the detailed explanation of my poem My Mother at 66 by Kamala Das for grade 12. Before we start the paraphrasing of the poem, let me discuss something about the poem, about its title. Let us find the title of the poem My Mother at 66, it is justified or not. The title of my poem, My Mother at 66, basically it directly and powerfully introduces the central theme of the poem. 66, it is an age which marks a stage of one's individual's life where the speaker is likely reflected on the passage of a time and moreover the inevitability of aging and mortality. So we can say that the title is just, it is apt and appropriate. Moving ahead, before we start, we should know little about the poet. Kamala Das, she is the poet who has beautifully depicted this poem. Kamala Das was born on March 31st, 1934 in Malabar, Kerala. She is one of the best known contemporary Indian women writers. Basically, she has written in two languages, Malayalam and English. Kamala Das has authored many autobiographical works and novels. Let's begin with the paraphrasing of the poem, My Mother at 66. My Mother at 66, it is really a touching poem which is composed by Kamala Das, I have already told you. Kamala Das has written this poem under the pen name of Madhavika Kutty. The poem begins with the feeling which Kamala Das has beautifully described in the poem. In this particular poem, she describes her feeling of love and attachment towards her aging mother. Once Kamala Das, she went to visit her mother. She was on her way back to the airport and to return to Cochin. She was sitting at the back seat of the car along with her mother. The mother was seated just very close to her. At that time, Kamala Das' mother, she was dozing. She has dozed off to sleep and there were some sign of aging on her face. At that time, Kamala Das, she realized, she felt that the face of her mother, it was looking like ash. Her mouth was open and she resembled like a dead body. The poet realized that her mother, she has become old. She is becoming old day by day. And at this aging, she need love, she need affection and care. In order to come out of her gloominess, the poetess, she wanted to shift her glance and she started looking out of the window of the car. Here I must add that the two different worlds are depicted in the poem. The world inside the car, which was full of gloominess, unhappiness, and the world inside the car, outside the car, and the world outside the car, which was full of life. When she saw outside the car, she noticed that there were so many children who were running out of their houses happily and they want to move towards the playground. She saw that the young trees pass by. It appeared to the poetess that all the trees were running along with her car. At that time, The poet beautifully depicted the things which were contrary to the aging face of her mother. All such things symbolized energy, life, and happiness. Finally, Kamala Das, she reached at the airport, and at that time, when she was about to leave for the aeroplane, once again she looked at the face of her mother. The mother was appearing very weak, very pale to the poetess. She looked pale and weak, just like the moon in the winter season, which lost all its strength. Similarly, poet's mother has lost all her physical strength. She was reminded at that time of her childhood, when, as a child, she could not bear this separation from her mother, even for a single moment of a time. But now, this loss would be permanent. It would be a permanent loss, as her mother was about to die and she would lose her mother forever. But Kamala Das did not show this gloominess in front of her mother. She did not express her feelings in front of her mother. She smiled and said, "See you soon, Amma," because she wanted that they should live, because she wanted that her mother should live and they could meet again. With this, the poem ends. Now, I would like to discuss all the poetic devices which poet had used beautifully just to enhance the beauty of the poem. There are the certain poetic devices which are used in the poem. The first is imagery. The poet uses the vivid images to describe her mother appearances and the surrounding to create a picture of a scene. Second poetic device that is used in the poem is a metaphor in the line, "Young trees sprinting." The third poetic device which is used in the poem is simile, where the poet has compared the face of a mother with the ash, and one more example it is added here, that pale as the late winter's moon. Personification is the next poetic device which the poet used successfully. The poet personifies trees as sprinting to show their liveliness and the youthfulness. Alliteration and repetition are the other poetic devices which are used in the poem. And most importantly, symbolism. Symbolism is the next poetic device which is used. The poet used the word corpse, which symbolizes death and mortality. Late winter's moon symbolizes fading life and nearing the end. Young trees and the married children represents the youth and the cycle of a life. Now at the end, come to the tone of the poem. The tone of the poem is contemplative and introspective. And here the poem ends. So if you like this poem, please share and subscribe it. Thank you.